Okay, in this problem here, we're asked two questions about our function. We want to find the average value of the function on the interval a to b, and then we want to determine when that average value occurs. Okay, and then after this video, we're going to look at a graph to kind of get a real feeling and understanding for what the average value really is for a particular function. So first off, the average value of any function, actually we'll get to that in a moment. Our function is f of x equals 1 over x squared. We're looking at the average value between 1 and 5. The average value of any function is just taking the width of the interval, 1 over b minus a, times the integral. Right? And that's the average. It's the calculus equivalent of add everything up, divide by the total. So we're adding all of our rectangles up between a and b, and then dividing by the width of the overall interval. Okay, so that's the average value. So we apply that to our function. That would be 1 over 5 minus 1, which would be 1/4, times the integral from 1 to 5. And I've gone ahead here and rewritten 1 over x squared as x to the negative second dx. Okay, and then we just carry this process through. Add 1 to the exponent, which will make it -1, and then divide by it. So that'll give me a negative 1/4. Negative 1/4. Back up just a little bit here. Negative 1/4 times 1 over x, evaluated at 1 and 5. And then I'll plug in 5 and 1. You could have written that as negative 1 over 4x if you wanted to. When I plug in 5, I'm going to get negative 1/20. And then that's going to be minus. When we plug in 1, but because of the negative in front of the 1/4, that makes it plus 1/4. So we get negative 1/20 plus 1/4, and that simplifies to be 1/5. So the average value of 1 over x squared on the interval from 1 to 5 is 1/5. That's the average value. We just do the integral, divide by the width, divide by the gap between a and b, and that's called the average value. So that's pretty easy to do. The next question is, when does the average value occur? So when does f take on the average value? So what we do here is we set f equal to that average value. We're trying to find out what values of c would give us this average value. Well, plug that in. We'd have 1 over c squared equals 1/5. We can cross multiply. 5 equals c squared. So take the square root. That would give us plus or minus the square root of 5. But we're in the interval 1 to 5. Negative square root of 5 doesn't play in the interval 1 to 5. But square root of 5 does. And so square root of 5 is that value in the interval. And then a result that you'll see in the notes called the mean value theorem for intervals says that you're guaranteed to have one of these. There's at least one place in that interval 1 to 5 where the function takes on the average, value. Now, what exactly is the average? Well, it's exactly what you think. It's the average. And we can see that if we look at a graph. So what I've drawn here is a graph of 1 over x squared on the interval 1 to 5. And I've done a little bit of highlighting here. This blue line is 1/5. So we could talk about the area below the graph. Right, the area below the graph here, starting at 1 and going up to 5. Right, and that would actually be this part here that's white, and then all the white underneath here along with the green. That would be the area beneath the graph. Now with 1/5 here, what I've highlighted in green is this is the amount of area that the 1/5 leaves out. Whereas the purple area here is the amount of area that the 1/5 includes that shouldn't be in there. It turns out that purple area and that green area are equal, which is why the rectangle here, 1/5 by 4, actually gives you the overall area beneath the graph. And so the average value is that value that has the same area, that rectangle, as your function. It's basically the average value of the function over the interval. And then where the blue or the green and purple boxes come together, that's that point there, in our case, square root of 5, where the function actually takes on that average point. So a little bit of labeling here. Y equals 1 over x squared is our graph. Y equals 1/5 is the blue line there. And again, the green line is the excluded area. The blue line is the included area, the extra area that the 1/5 includes. So we exclude some of it. We end up including it so that the overall area from 1/5 is actually equal to the area beneath the curve. Okay, and so that's what the average value actually means.